in total, we've been in Thailand for 10 days, and I have read 7 books. And I'm going to go through the top lessons that I learned from the books, and I'm also going to rate them in order from worst book to the best book that you absolutely need to read. So basically, I've read 7 books so that you don't have to. You do need to read at least 2 of them though. So the worst book was this one, Being a Great Boss. This book sucked so bad that whilst I was reading it, I was getting angry at times. I was shouting. I usually do enjoy the Harvard review books, but this one I just didn't enjoy. It was so pathetic and politically correct. It just sucked. He was just talking about to make people feel comfortable in your office as a boss. Maybe when you introduce yourself to the new employees, you should introduce yourself with your pronoun. I'm like, it was just pathetic book. Decision book. This one was good. More about people skills than making decisions. Just some nice little nuggets, easy reading. You know, you can maybe just read this while you're just on the toilet or something. Super easy. I read this in like about an hour. Key to decision making, in my opinion, is best case. So if I do this decision, this is the best case scenario, and then this is the worst case. And what's the likely case? And then when you look at best case, worst case, likely case, then you just have to freaking make a decision. For making a financial investment, weigh up what's the worst case. If the worst case scenario is, I'll lose a few thousand, but the best case is I'll make $1 million, then of course I'm going to go with the decision and just make the decision. This book, War by Robert Greene, it was quite good. I like studying ancient war stories and philosophies of how to deal with, you know, enemies and conflict. Similar to Mastery, I probably slightly preferred Mastery by Robert Greene, but to be honest, if you're going to read Robert Greene, I would suggest just reading the 48 Laws of Power, I think it's called. Power by Robert Greene. It's a brilliant book. Not because you want to be powerful. A lot of manipulation techniques in there about how to manipulate people. Obviously, you don't want to do that. It's not good. It's not good karma. It's not a good feel. And usually it will catch up with you in the end. But the reason I enjoyed the book so much was because it teaches you how to watch out for people that do the tricks on you. And you can soon be like, oh my goodness, especially when you're in business. You're like, oh wow, they're doing that thing that Robert Greene talked about. A lot of manipulation techniques. Really good. Thoroughly enjoyed this. This was incredible. Raving fans. Just the concept of this is incredible. So basically, it talks about how you don't want your customers to be satisfied. A satisfied customer is not enough. What you need raving fans. So, yeah, this was just brilliant. I mean, if you're in the property business, if you've got tenants, you don't want your tenants to be happy. You want your tenants to be raving fans. If you've got investors, if you're a deal sourcer and you're selling to investors, you don't want your investor to be like, yeah, I'm happy. You want your investor to be like, oh my gosh, that deal sourcer sold me the best deal ever. I'm madly recommending them. So yeah, just obsessing over your customers is so important in business, because then they'll come back, they'll buy more and more products from you, they'll stay with you, they'll be loyal to you, they'll spread the word. You really want, any successful business needs to have raving fans, and this raving fans book was incredible. All right, next up, brilliant book. Loved reading this. I read the book What They Don't Teach You at Harvard University, and What They Don't Teach You at Harvard University was really good, so I decided to read this book. What They Still Don't Teach You at Harvard University. I mean, I didn't put this down as my favorite. I put the next one down as my favorite. But out of all the books, if I was going to recommend to you, if you're wanting to get into business, I would recommend this one. This book, it goes through sales, negotiations, management. It's just a brilliant staple. You know when you go for a nice meal and you have like a roast dinner, it's like a nice staple meal. Yorkshire pudding with chicken and mashed potato. That's this. This is like a staple meal. There's nothing in here that I read that was groundbreaking or like, oh, it's completely changed the way I view life and business. But it was just really refreshing. If you're starting out in business, this is going to really help you with the fundamentals of business. I enjoyed this. But my favorite book was this one, Money in One Lesson. This was brilliant. I found this the most fascinating read. Quite a slog in a way. It's quite a thick book, and it's not big print either. So it took me the longest to read this. It took me about 2 days out of the 10 days I was here to read this. This book talks about money. Money doesn't exist. It never has existed, and it never will exist. Money is just an idea, a concept that everybody plays along with. But actually, money doesn't exist. Explains how money came off the gold standard, 1931 in England, 1971 in America, and how money effectively is just an IOU. You know, it's not even on the gold standard. He explains central banks, how they work, goes into massive detail on quantitative easing, government bonds, fractional reserve banking, the first central bank that ever existed in Sweden, and how the guy that set it up did actually go into prison for fraud, but now it's a standard thing. I found this just fascinating as somebody that is an investor and somebody that is, a student of money and what money is. This was brilliant. So this was my number one. This one, though, absolutely brilliant. Get it. I think there's 6 books, but I'm going to read one more. I'm going to buy something at the airport, and I'm going to read one more book on the plane on the way home, but I don't know what that book is yet.